Come in the bag in here.
Okay, I'll just let me get the place. Okay. Hold on 1 second, okay?
MAkkos Daf base.
Okay, I got it.
So the normal case of Edom Zomimin is Ruvain kills Shimon on Monday at 1 o'clock on 3rd and La Brea. At a minimum, those have to be the details. You need the date, the time of day, the location. And Edom have to give Hasra, right? Let's say Reuven killed Shimon, Levi and Yehuda were the Edom. So they're there. They see what Reuven did to Shimon and they gave him Hasra. They go to Bezdin and they give testimony. Based on that testimony, Reuven would be put to death as a murderer. Now, if now, before the sentence is carried out, Yisachar and Zvulun show up, and they say, Monday on January 5th at 1 o'clock, Levi and Yehuda, the Edom, were with us in Disneyland. They claimed they were at La Brea and 3rd at that time, and on that date. And the Yisachar and Zvulun say, no, they are a second group of witnesses. And they say that Imanu Hayisa, you were with us. That creates Edom Zomimin. And in that scenario, Levi and Yehuda would be put to death because they tried to cause Reuven to be put to death. But for example, if Beis Din had already executed Reuven, and then only after that, Yisachar and Zvulun show up and they were with us, that's not Edom Zomimin. It's Kashrasi, what they wanted to have happen to him. But if it actually happened to Reuven, you don't kill the Edom Zomimin. It's only if it occurs before the criminal that the two Edom tried to say was guilty, if he's not killed yet. So that's Edom Zomimin. Now it's interesting, rather than give us the index case that I just explained of what actually creates Edom Zomimin, where you actually put them to death, the first Mishnah of the Masechta deals with a case that's an exception to the case of Edom Zomimin, where you don't kill them. Case of Edom Nasim Zomimin. Me'id nanu b'ish ploini shehu ben grusha o ben chlutza. They give testimony that this guy, Chaim Yankel, is the son of a Kohen who married a grusha. So they're trying to say that this guy's not a Kohen, he's a Halal. Now, by the way, let's go back to the first case, where we said Reuven killed Shimon, and Levi and Yehuda were the Edom. They said at 1 o'clock on La Brea and 3rd, we saw Reuven kill him, and they go to Beis Din, and Beis Din has adjudicated Reuven to be put to death, but they haven't put him to death yet. And then Yisachar and Zvulun show up and say, no, Levi and Yehuda were with us in Disneyland on Monday at 1 o'clock. Now the question is, why do we believe the second group of Edom over the first group of Edom? That's the chidush of Edom Zomimin. Misvara, from logic alone, there's no reason to believe the second group of Edom more than the first group of Edom. You have one group, you have another group. So, in fact, let's say two other Adim show up to say that no, Shimon, the guy who was murdered, they say no, we saw somebody else murder him, not this guy. That's called hakosha. They're arguing with the Adim. They're not saying the specific imanu ayisim. There, the first group of Adim would be set aside. Now you have hakosha, A versus B. We don't believe either of them. Okay? So normally, we believe two sets of Adim equally. So why in the case of Adim Zomerman do we believe the second group and we mamish kill the first two Adim? Well, we don't have any other proof that they were in Disneyland. We have the words of these people. We believe them and we put them to death. Why? Chidushur. Chidushur. It's a chidush that the Torah told us we believe the second group.
It's brazen. I'm saying it's brazen to say you're with us, to say such a lie. Right? That's like if someone saw two things, you could missee it. You can't missee that you were with me. How could you say that? Someone's not going to come out of the blue to say that.
But misvara, there's no reason to believe the second group over the first group, according to the general laws of Vedus. Okay. Now, so here we have Lavan Yudah saying that this guy is not a Kohen. Ein oimrim yasa zeh ben grusha ben chlutza tafta. Let's say the Adim happen to be Kohanim. So normally what you say, you do to the Adim Zomim what they wanted to do to the guy. So maybe the din would be that if they're Kohanim, they become Chalolim themselves. If they're non-Kohanim, it's not relevant. That's why I bring the case that the Adim are Kohanim. Because to say that, a regular Yisrael is a Halal, that doesn't mean anything. They're already non-Kohanim.
Ernie, but I know what you went on to the svara that why do we believe the second ones? But why would the second ones come there? What do they have to gain by making these Adim Zonim? They don't like the guy.
That's why.
We're going to see. People were hired to be Adim.
Uh-huh.
And it could be that there was corruption.
Okay.
So here, they don't become Chalalim. Rather, Elaloy Karboin, they get Malchus. They violated the lav because we're believing the second group. So the first group, we believe the second group. So the first group lied. They midvar shecher tirchak, or don't say falsehood. Of that lav, they get malchus. Now the Gemara is going to question. Dibor is not a maisa. Normally we don't give malchus unless there's some kind of action. Right? You eat something that's not appropriate, you get malchus. You eat chazer, you get malchus. But we're going to see lav she'ein bo maisa, ein loikin alav. And usually dibor is considered a lav she'ein bo maisa. So we'll keep that in mind. That's a question that we'll have to address in the Gemara. Why are they getting malchus? Okay. There's another exception to the general case of Edom Zorim. So, if a person is in a forest and he's chopping a tree, and on the way down with an axe, the blade falls off and kills somebody, so you don't go into Golus. Okay, you don't go into Golus because that is not considered enough of an oinus. If you pick the axe up and then it flies off, and it kills somebody, that person goes into Golus.
Means you didn't check your weapon.
That's just the din. We'll see. This is Korav Lemezid, having it fall off. So we don't let him go to Golus. We wouldn't put him to death either. But it's not a case where you go into Golus. It's not mamish mezid because he did it. It was like an ones. But a true shogeg case is that when you lifted it and then it flew off. Now these two Adim come and say, "We saw this guy kill somebody in this way," where normally it would cause the guy to go to Golus. And then two other Eidim said, no. When you claim this happened, you were with us in Disneyland. Well, Ein Oimrim Yigla Zetachtov. We don't say that the group of Eidim Zomim, we send them to Golus, which is what they wanted to do to the guy. No, they get Malchus. Elaloika our boy. And the Gemara will learn why. It's all related to Psukim. So the Gemara doesn't understand. It says, Ketzad ha'edim nasim zoimamin. Well, we just gave two examples where they're not really zomamin. So the ha'ketzad ein ha'edim nasim zoimamin should have said, give me an example where the edim do not become zoimamin, miboy, lay. The Mishnah should have opened up asking, Ketzad ein ha'edim nasim zoimamin, not Ketzad ein nasim zoimamin. These are not the classic kids of edim zoimamin. That's question one. Another question. Miditani lekamon. We're going to learn later on. Aval omru lahem. So when a second group of witnesses come, and they say to the first group of witnesses, "Hey, chatem me'idin, how can you give this testimony?" Sharei ba'oso hayem atem hayisim imanu b'makom ploni. On Monday at 1:00, when you claim Reuven killed Shimon, you were with us in Disneyland. Hare elu zomimin. So that's a classic case of zomimin. Michlal de elu ein. So any other case is not going to be zomimin. So we don't have to. It seems superfluous what we're learning here. So the Gemara answers Tana Hasum Koi. Our Mishnah here is referring back to one of the last blot in Sanhedrin, blot Pei Tes Amud Aleph, where it says, Kol hazoymimin magdimin lo yisa misa. Eidim zomimin are given the misa that they tried to give to the guy that they were convicting, except chutz mi zomimei bas kohen ubo alon. So regular adultery, we said, is killed with chenek, choking. But if a bas kohen commits adultery, she gets killed with sreifa. So let's say Eidim come, Levi and Yehuda, and say that this guy and this bas kohen had relations. And Beis Din says that, okay, the girl gets sreifa. Now remember, Bo'ala, the one who had relations, the adulterous relations, they don't get sreifa. They get regular chenek. They get regular misa, the baal. Because there's a drasha bas, the low, only the girl. Now, but then Zvulun and Yisachar show up and say that Levi and Yehuda were zomimim. So our Mishnah over there in Sanhedrin says, right, they don't get to say misa, misa cheres. They get chenek. In relation to that statement comes our Mishnah. It says, "V'yesh edim zomim acherim, shein oitzim ben din hazama kol iker." At least over there, the edim zomim are put to death. They get the death of the boyala. The boyala gets chenek, and they get chenek, so they get death.
And they're choosing.
And then the Tana here comes and saying, then there's an example of Edim that don't get any death. They get malchus. There's always a punishment. Right? They get malchus, yes. Ketzad. We don't say that if these Eidim are Kohanim, we make them Chalalim. But no, they get. That's how the Gemara fits in the language of our Mishnah. This rule that they don't become disqualified Kohanim, Menorah and Mili, how do we know this? Vasisem lo kasher zamah lo v'lo luzaro. The punishment to the Eidim Zomim has to be a punishment that's for him only, and not for his ancestors. If you're going to make him a halal, the din is his children will also be halal. So he's removed from the din of being made a halal because of this pasuk vasisem lo. Frank the Gemara v'lifsulu didev v'lo lifsulu d'zari. Okay, the halacha will be only he becomes a halal, not his children. So because being in kasher zaman lasos v'leka, the false testimony that they gave would have caused the criminal to his all of his answers would be. So you can't apply this type of punishment. And the Gemara will give another source. Bar Paro Omer Kal V'chomer. Uma mechalel eino mischalel. A Kohen, when he has relationship with a grusha, so that child becomes a halal, but he does not lose his kahuna. He's not mischala. Haba lechalel v'lo chilel. So these Eidim tried to make a Kohen not a Kohen, but it didn't. He was eventually rejected, so he certainly should not become a halal. That's the second reason that the Gemara gives. Maskal Ravina. Now, based on this Kal V'chomer, im came bital the Edim Zomim bechlal. You'll never have a case of Edim Zomim, because we'll say like this: Uma soikel enon iskal. You have Levi and Yehuda, who came and testified about Reuven that he worshipped Avodah Zarah. And then Beis Din went ahead and killed him with Skila. Now, and later on, Eidim Zomim show up. I already explained, we don't kill the Eidim Zomim. Once you actually kill him, that's it. It's only when he's waiting to be killed that the Eidim Zomim are killed. So, Habal Isko V'lo Sakol. So, in a regular case of Eidim Zomim, who wanted to get the guy to have Skila, but it didn't work, because the Eidim Zomim showed up before. Certainly, Kal V'chomer Ein Edin Shlo Yisakel. So you would have been able to get rid of every case of Eidim Zomim based on that Kal V'chomer. So the Gemara rejects Bar Poda's Kal V'chomer, because otherwise it wouldn't work. Because the Torah does say you put the Eidim Zomim to death. Ele Machvata Kedeshani Meikora. We explained it based on the way Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi explained it. The Lo V'lo Lazaro explanation. Okay. Then the Mishnah said, we say, if the way Eidim came to say that a certain guy has to go to Golos, and then Eidim Zomim say they were false, we don't send in the Golos, we give them Makos. Mananimili. Armish Lakish Damar Kroa. Hu Yanus Elachas He'arim. He, the guy who tries to kill by accident, goes to the refuge. Who V'lo Zomimim. But not Eidim Zomim. So you can never send Eidim Zomim to Golus, because the pasuk basically rejects anybody else being sent to an Ir Miklat, only the guy who killed Bishoki. Okay, that's one explanation. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kal V'chomer. He brings another. He tries to bring a Kal V'chomer. Umahu sha'asa ma'aseh b'mezid. Reuven kills Shimon b'mezid. But let's say there was no hasra. So if there was no hasra, he cannot be killed. Now, but he killed b'mezid. So the Torah doesn't offer golas to him. Therefore, ain't a golas. Because golas is only for somebody who's killed b'shogeg. Hain, these Eidim Zomim, shelo asu ma'aseh b'mezid. They didn't do a Maisa. They testified falsely. Ein odin shelo yiglu. Again, the Gemara wants to say through a Kal V'chomer that they shouldn't go into gold. And but v'hino senes, it would be just the opposite. Maybe there would be more of a reason to send these Eidim Zomim to Golus. V'halodinu hu shasa ma'aseh b'mezid lo ligli. We understand the murderer himself, who did it b'mezid, doesn't go to Golus. Ki hechi delo tezhev lekapora. his act is so brazen, we don't want him to have atonement, because going to go to Ir HaMiklat gives him atonement. Hein Shlasu Maisa b'Mezid. Eidim Zomim didn't do a Maisa. They just spoke. Right? It's false testimony, but it's just speech. Maybe we should allow them to go to Nami Liglu, in order to give them kapora. Yet, it's almost as far to say Elamachvar took it Reish Lakish. So we get rid of Rabbi Yochanan's Kavachomer and we hold like Reish Lakish's explanation of who the low Eidim Zomim. Period. Now, how do we know that Eidim Zomimim, if you cannot give them the punishment that they tried to give to somebody else because of these technical factors? We have two technical factors, Golus and Chalalus. There's no, for example, if they say, oh, we saw this guy eat chazer, and we warned him, what's the penalty for eating chazer? Malchus, right? It's a lav sheyesh b'maisa. And then Yisachar Zvulun show up and say, no, when they said he ate the chazer, he was with us in Disneyland. Well, those people we give malchus, because that's a punishment that can be given to them, and it fits the bill of the Torah that you get kasher zamim lasos. What they wanted to do to the guy, you do to them. So malchus fits in to a regular punishment. We give malchus to those two exceptional cases of chalalus and golus, because so how do we know that? How do we know it? Omer ula remez leidim zomim nator minayim. So where is the hint for eidim zomim? Now, whenever you have that's like saying, that's like, tonight, tomorrow night we're going to eat matzah, because it says shivas balayla zeh yochlu matzos, whatever the pasuk is. Remez lachilas matzah minator minayim. We never would say such a thing. It's befer shega doraisa. So what do you mean the Gemara is asking remez minayim? It's not the proper term. In fact, what do you mean remez leidim zomim? V'aksi vasisem lo kasher zomam. The law of do to them what they tried to do, it's written in the Torah. What do you mean remez? Ella remez leidim zomim and shaloikim minator minayim. How do we know that in the case where you can't give misa, or that whatever these cases where you can't fulfill them, how do you know that they get malchus? So tichsif, it says by malchus, the hitzdiku as tzaddik. That means they said that the guy was potter. The hirshu as harasha, or they convicted the rasha. The haya im bin hakos harasha, and then, if you're going to come to give malchus to the rasha, that's what the pasuk says. So mishum v'tzdikus atzadik v'shus harasha v'hayayim bin hakos harasha. It seems like you have two people, and they're arguing in court. One's a tzaddik and one's a rasha, and because of that dispute, and one of them is correct and one of them is not, you give malchus, and that seems to be what the pasuk is saying. But Ella, we darshan it differently. Eidim shir shuas atzadik. Eidim that tried to say that a tzaddik was a criminal. V'asu eidim achrini. And then the second group of eidim come, v'tzdikus atzadik, dimikara, and pointed out that the guy that the first eidim wanted to make a rasha is really a tzaddik. V'shavinu la'ani rishoim. Therefore, it makes the first eidim the false ones, the guilty ones. And then v'haya in bin hakos rasha. What happens? That rasha you give him malchus. Freak the Gemara, the tepik le'milo sa'aneh. Don't bear false witness, and it's a regular lav. So why don't we just learn it from there? Here comes what we tried to say. Mishum davi lav shein b'maisa. Giving testimony is just speech. the cholav shem b'maisei loikin alav. So without that special pasuk of Yitzdikus Atzadik V'Shus Rasha, we wouldn't be able to give Malkus to the Eidim Zomim. That's where we are. Torah Rabbon. Dalid Dvarim Namru Beidim Zomim. There are 4 things that we have to understand about Eidim Zomim. Ein Nasin Ben Grusha Ben Chlutza. Number 1, if they give testimony that somebody was a Ben Grusha, we don't make them a chal. They ain't golin lara mikla. If they tried to say that somebody is convicted of a crime that normally would send them to Golus, and they were declared Eidim Zomim, we don't send them to Golus. They meshamin is a koifer. So if someone's shore killed somebody, and they give testimony that this shore killed somebody, and then they were made Eidim Zomim, normally the Bailim would pay koifer. But the Eidim Zomim don't pay koifer. The Einim korn be'avad ivri. Let's say they gave testimony on a guy that he stole and doesn't have the money to pay, and then that guy would be sold as an Evad Ivri. Let's say he stole $500, doesn't have the money to pay. So let's say $600. The work cost $100 a year. He sold for 6 years to pay the $600, and then he goes free. And now let's say the guy who gave testimony that the guy stole, the witnesses are blown away by Eidim Zomim. So those witnesses are not sold as an Evad Ivri. So those are the 4 exceptions. Mishum Rav Akiva Amru, Af Ein Mishamin Al Pi Atzman. If 2 people show up to a Beis Din and they confess that we were declared Zomimim by another Beis Din, we don't have them pay whatever knas they were supposed to pay. Now we'll go through each one. We already learned why. We gave the reason for that. There's a machlokas when you pay koifer. What was it? Is it damages or is it atonement? Because those tanoim hold that koifer is an atonement. Vahani lavne kaparninu. They don't deserve kapara, and they didn't have an animal that killed, so therefore they're not bar kapara. Man Tana Kufr Kapara. Who is the Tana that says Koifer is Kapara? On Rav Chizda Rabbi Shmuel ben Rav Yochanan ben Broiko, the Tanya. The Nosan Pidyon Nafsho. When an ox kills somebody, he has to give the pidyon of his life, which means the main nizik. You have to assess the value of the guy who was killed by the shore. It means you assess someone's value by how much he is sold in the market to work. So if he was like Hercules, he'd be worth a lot of money. If he's a little thin guy, he's worth much less. Rabbi Shmuel ben Rav Yochanan ben Broiko, Dmei Mazik. You look at the value of the owner of the shore, and you pay that value. My lav barkamet. What's the machloket? Because the Mar Sofer Kufr Mamoina. The Tanakam holds koifer is really monetary pay. So he bases it on the value of whether it's the nizik or the mazik. Umar Sofer Kufr Kapara. No, koifer is an atonement, which is who is responsible? The owner of the ox. So we value the owner of the ox. So the Gemara says, "Lo, Amar Rav Papa the Kulam Kufr Kapara." Everybody holds that koifer is atonement. In general, that when you determine what should be paid as kapara, it's based on the victim. It's based on the criminal. My tamaid rabbanon, that you look at the value of the victim. Nemer hashtam lamata, v'nemer hashtam lamala. When you damage a pregnant woman and you cause her to miscarry, there it's based on the value of the victim. Malan b'nizik, avkan b'nizik, because they're right next to each other. So Rabbi Shmuel V'nosan pidyon nafsho ksiv. That seems to suggest that you pay the value of the owner of the ox. And that's a kasha on the rabbi, on the Rabbanon, who say that you pay the victim's value. Rabbanon in pidyon nafsho ksiv miu kishamin. Yes, he has to pay, but how much does he have to pay? B'dinizik shaminan. We pay his value. Then it says veinim korn be'evid ivri. They're not sold as evid ivri. So Rav Amnun lemeimar heichedi isle ledidei. When they claimed that this guy stole money, and he had the money to pay, the migu de ilon is dabin, he wouldn't have been sold in unami lo mizdabin. Avalecha de lesle ledidei. But if the guy was claimed to be the ganef, had no money, so avagav the isle ledidum is dabnu, then even if these Edom Zomim have money, they should be sold. Why not? So Amalei Rav of Valem Rulei, let the Edom Zomim say to the guy who has no money, if you had money, they wouldn't sell you. So we can't be sold either, because we also have money. So we don't sell the Edom Zomim. We're either the guy that they accused has money or they have money. If they don't have money, and the other guy doesn't have money, you do sell them. So it's again, it's exeris hakosu where we reject the possibility of selling Edom Zomim in all cases as avodim. Okay, we'll stop here.
Yeah.
Very good. Have a good Shabbos, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
Okay. Are you learning over Shabbos and Yontif?
We're
Yeah.
going to learn. So just learn a blot every day.
Where?
Are you going to be in our side of town?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to learn we'll learn at the shul.
Wait, no, which shul?
At Young Israel, no?
No, nobody else is here from Young Israel. The two of us are here.
Hey, where are you going to daven?
Probably the Kotel.
You want to learn at my house, Walter?
I can learn at your house, or we can learn
And
at
then
my
we can
house.
learn at your house. Yeah, but it's be closer for Abe. Where are you staying? Where's your house?
27.
Okay, so closer to your house then.
My house is 143 South McCadden.
Yeah.
Abe.
Okay, what time?
5:30? What time is Mincha? 6:30?
I don't know what time Mincha is, so you have to look on the thing.
I think it's probably going to be later. I think it's probably.
Let me look here. Let me just look here, please.
Oh, very good.
Give me a second. That's
We'll
great.
have refreshments.
1 second. Let me look here. I look here.
And then you can come, if you want to daven at Yavna, Mincha Ma'ariv, you can come with us to Mincha Ma'ariv. It's right down the block. And we can do that tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. I'm sorry. Shabbos, Sunday, Monday.
Okay, let me check what time.
I bet you Mincha is going to be 6:45.
Hold on, I'll tell you now. Shabbos Hagordel. Mincha is at 7 p.m. only.
Okay, so let's learn at 6 o'clock. Okay?
Okay.
Let's learn at 6 o'clock. My house, 143 South McCann. Abe, who's on Ponceria? Oh, you know what? I can give you your look. Look. Oh, I'm sorry. I gave you yours already.
Oh, mine. I have one.
George Fishman. I have one left. Forgot. I gave you. You came over.
You gave me.
Mincha, the second, the
Huh?
7:10.
Okay, second we could learn maybe a little later.
Okay.
But first two tomorrow and Sunday we'll learn at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Shkaya.
And Mincha,
Shabbos.
and Mincha, the third day, 7:15. So 7:10, 7 o'clock, 7:10, and 7:15. Okay, good Shabbos.
Stop recording.
Yes,
Shabbos-
You stop
Shabbos.
recording.
I think Mario.
No, but he told me to do it. And
Just
nobody,
turn it off.
nobody knows how to do
Just
anything.
turn it off. It usually says it down here.
I know, and nobody knows how to do anything. It's like I try.